Okay.
All right.
So whenever you're ready.
You ready? Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Montgomery. This is Dr. Davis. And I started about 2011 teaching an archaeoastronomy class, which is a global course. And one of the things we study these ancient sites looking for astronomical connections. And as part of the course, I added a component where we go on this field trip, and we take our field trip to New Mexico, specifically to a place called Chaco Canyon. We go to two different places. Chaco Canyon is located right here, up here. Problem is we're here, so it's a nice 10-hour bus drive, but it's worth it. And when we get there, as part of the class, we've studied about these people, these ancient people called the Anasazi that lived there about 1000 AD, and they built these huge structures, and these structures were astronomically aligned, and this is Chaco Canyon from the air, and I'll get closer. They had these buildings, one big building, but there were like 700 rooms in it, and it would house several hundred to maybe 1,000 people in here. And there was an ancient culture there, and they lived there about 200 years, and then they just abandoned the place. They just left. Okay? But the astronomical alignments in their buildings are still there, and it's one of the few places you can go where they let you actually walk around inside the rooms. You can go down inside and crawl around, and it's very cool for the students to actually interact and get this feeling for what kind of place this is. And so these are pictures from the trips we've taken in the past. They were 4 stories high on the outside, built among these cliffs. There it is. When you go back around the side, there's a path to walk up on top so you can look at it from over the top, which is very fun. The students really enjoy it. It's stuff that they don't get anywhere here. You have to get further away to get this kind of geological structures. You can't see well here. Here's one of our students climbing up through the canyon to get up on top. Here we are looking up at the top. Here's the same building down here, looking from the top of the cliff. The reason we do this is because I always find that students remember a lot more about what you teach if they get hands-on, if they're there, they get feel for it. It's also part of learning about different cultures and their beliefs. Even though the culture's long past, it still gives you a different view. This is petroglyphs where the people there carved into the cliff faces that you saw these designs, which is pretty cool. I always tell them it's like their graffiti from their day is now our art, right? You look at it, and back then it was probably some kids that just would say, hey, this is cool. But we look at it now and say, hey, what does that mean? Try to read meaning into it. And there are several places that are very interesting. If you look here, this was one of our groups up here under the cliff. You can't see the lighting in here, it's not very good, but they have a painting of a moon and a star. Well, in 1054 AD, there was a supernova, which is a star that blows up. This star got so bright you could see it during the daytime. The people lived in the canyon at that time. They recorded it on the cliff, and we can still see that there. So it's very cool stuff. Here are our students looking at the petroglyphs. And then we also go to Mesa Verde National Park, because we're already up here in this region. We spent the night up here in a place called Farmington, North New Mexico. Mesa Verde is where they have the cliff dwelling, which were related to these people. In fact, a lot of the people that abandoned Chaco probably went to live up here. It became there was a drought in the area, a big warring society, and this gave you a lot of protection living under the cliffs. They would farm up on top in Mesa Verde. So we get to go here. You don't get to walk around, but you get to walk around the outside, and you get because it's a national park, you get guides that give you a lot more details. And it's a neat drive up there. Many of the students here that have never left Texas can't believe what it's like to actually be in mountains where you have to drive up and wind the bus up, and they just love the whole drive and the whole effect. We go through, we get to crawl down inside a kiva and experience what it's like, which is the circular regions that they use. Here we are, some of our students climbing out of the canyon to get down to them. And these are our groups. Now when we first started, I started as an archaeo class that I created myself. I started with about 10 students, and we would just take one of the campus buses out there. Then our group got a little bit bigger. We took 2 campus buses out, and now the class is getting more popular, and so now I'm getting so many that we have to take a charter bus, which is why we're here asking you for money. Because we want to get as many students that take a class to go as possible, but if we had to charge them a lot of money, we would lose a lot of students. And so I'm asking that we get about $4,000, which doesn't cover the bus, but it covers a good chunk of it, and then we get other money from the physics department service fees. They just don't have enough to cover the whole thing. And I want to keep continuing this every year as a way to take these students out and give them this experience that they remember the whole time. I still run into students from 3 years ago. They'll say, "Man, that was the greatest trip ever. I want to go again. Where are you going?" I say, "Well, you had your chance." All right. Any questions?
Okay. Questions?
So is this trip just open to students who are taking this course?
Yes, that's part of the course. Yes. Yeah.
Given the popularity of the course over the years, are discussions being had within the department to try and perhaps shift some things around to secure more permanent funding for this trip and course?
Well, if we had a source for the funding, yes, but the way the physics department is, they don't get permanent funding. They get something called service fees. Mm-hmm. And this would take most of the service fees, and the department head said, well, I can't give all the service fees to one class. We have to buy things like lab equipment and all that kind of stuff. So he gives us a big chunk, several $1,000s, essentially about half of it, and then we're asking for half. That's why we're coming here.
But the department couldn't increase their service fee at a marginal rate of
we don't have
$2 or...
The department can't do the service fees. That's not the way they do service fees anymore. It's done by the students when they pay their fees. And all the service fees go into the academic, and then the academic people distribute it to the departments. Yeah, in the old days, they used to have something called course fees. And then it was by the course, and all that money would go to the course. They don't do that anymore. That's not the way it's done. So things have changed, yes?
I have two questions. Do the students pay anything out of pocket to participate in this experience?
Yes, they do. They pay $50, which covers their room expenses as long as they're willing to sleep 4 to a room for 3 nights. And then on the trip, they pay for all their own food.
So do you think, and it's now 3 questions, would you anticipate less students wanting to participate? Would they have, if they had to pay more? I mean, it's so popular, so you would assume that students would be willing to participate, fund more than $50.
Yeah, some of them. When we were first doing it, we did charge a little bit more than that, and we found that less of the percentage of the students that were in the class would go. So, because for each of these, if you divide the total amount of the bus per individual, that would be about $200 more on top of the 50 to close to 100 they already spent.
Can I play the devil's advocate without,
Sure.
like, just because this is my job right now? I don't want to be the mean guy. But why, if I'm an ag major on financial aid, and financial aid only pays for the courses that are on my degree plan, why should my student service fees go to fund a trip that I can't take?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it is.
I don't want to be that person.
Because other organizations do it, there's other trips on campus that people don't go on too, you know, it's a choice. This class also counts for your science credits and your core curriculum, so anybody can take it for a science credit.
Okay.
It's not just for physics or astronomy people, so it's astronomy 260, ASTR 260. It's also a global course, and you have to have so many global courses to graduate. So we try to be more universal. But yes, it is just for this course. And you know, if we didn't get funding, we'd probably still have the trip. It would just be less students would be able to go. I mean, some students financially could afford it. If we went up to $300 or $400 to go, some would go, but we would lose a significant
What's the
chunk.
cap on this class?
40. I started the semester with 40. I have like 36 in it now. And of that, we have close to 30 are going. So,
Have you thought about asking the alumni, all these people that say, hey, when can I go again, when can I go again? Have you thought about asking them, hey, you know, since you went and had a great time, you know,
give us some money back.
can you pay it forward and sponsor, you know, $100 for the trip for the next go around? And just see if that's a way that you could generate some additional funding.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought about that. You know, most of them are still finishing their degree.
I
Not
understand.
a lot of loose income, but yeah, in the future, definitely. And it might be something to approach with the advancement office to say, hey, man, here's something that's going to make a sponsor.
That's certainly a way just to get some additional funding in case this body can't give you all the money.
Yeah, no, I understand. We're trying to do what we can, but you know how it works. I understand. There's limited funds everywhere. A lot of people asking.
Other questions?
So if you were to be given, like hypothetically, half of the 4,000, so you would get from 2,000, where would you go for that?
That's a good question. We might ask around and see if there's funds elsewhere, or we would just increase how much each student had to pay for, they would just have to cover the difference, right, depending on how many students. So if you had 20 students, then you'd have to pay an extra $100 to make up the difference. It also depends, as you see, the bus rates seem to vary widely from year to year, so we're never quite sure what the bus rates are going to be from year to year. We know it's probably going to be anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 for this 4-day trip.
Have you, I mean, I don't know, if this is just an idea. Have you heard of the bus service Megabus? No. Well, it's like significantly cheaper rate, and I'm not sure if you could travel to Albuquerque or, but then rent a bus in Albuquerque to be able to travel around there. I don't know if the expenses would be the same. That's like an idea.
We haven't, the buses we got, we went to the business office of transportation and said, who do you use as buses? And they're the ones that said, oh, here are the people that they use for charter buses for like all athletics and all that. Call these people. And that's where we came up with the name. So, you know, we didn't go looking for ourselves. We got a list from them that these are the ones that the university uses.
You said that you used to, when you had a smaller group, you just took like a university-owned bus. Can you not take 3 university-owned buses because you don't have the number of drivers? Is it pricier than a single charter bus? Do we not have 3 disposable buses for the trip?
Yes,
What's
all
all of the above?
The buses at this time of year are really hard to get because athletics and them uses them all the time. So we can get a bus. The biggest bus they have is 20-some, and you have to have a bus driver. If you take the 14-passenger one, we drive ourselves. So the first year, we drove ourselves with the students because we only had 10 students. But then you start getting bigger. We actually one year chartered our bus, the university bus, and had a bus driver take us there. And then last year was the first year we actually had to charter a bus because we had too many people. You start to get in the 30s, you have to get a chartered bus. It does become very expensive when you have more than one vehicle because you're doubling all the gas fees and all that. Sure. And so overall, you usually end up losing money too. It is nicer and easier on the students if we can do it too, so it depends on the situation. But those are all options. One year we actually had our bus break down in Childress, Texas, so.
Childress got a good place for a bus breakdown.
Derek Priest came out and bailed us out, and so he was great, and we went in and rented vehicles and kept it going.
Other questions?
Good.
Thank you very much.